clinic or whether it is a, personal conversation to the people that it means the most to, other musicians, other people in the music business. So make sure you tune into EnterTalk Radio. We are going live, which I believe we are doing that right now as we speak, and it's a pretty fun thing for us to do here. We have a show called Sharpen the Axe, and Sharpen the Axe is every Thursday at 6 o'clock, and we do that, and we show people all about guitar gear. And we've got our show host here. I'm going to pass the mic on. Mr. Eric Lucero is going to be here, and where Doyle took off for a second.
Yeah, so we got a minute or two to kill.
Okay, he'll be coming back. So why don't we just vamp here, Eric? I'm going to pass this mic to you.
Awesome, hand it off to me.
Welcome to the land of live music, Eric Lucero. So if you want to know anything about any gear whatsoever in the world, period. Well, actually, he knows a lot of stuff.
Everything.
He knows a lot of stuff. This is Eric Lucero. He is one of the,
Hi, guys.
He is one of the product specialists here, as well as the show host of Sharpen the Axe. So tell us about Sharpen the Axe, Eric.
Well, Sharpen the Axe is a show completely obsessed with gear, not just guitar gear, but bass gear as well. Everything from the guitars and amps and effects, of course, to the pedals, even what makes one brand of cable or one type of cable better than another. It could be anything at all, down to technique and everything. We have mostly focused on the gear so far, but every now and then we get to do some fun artist interviews, as we will here with Mr. Doyle Dykes. But it is on, actually, I'm only the co-host. Our other co-host is right there. That's Paul Berezetsky. And the show is on every Thursday on EnterTalk Radio from 6 to 7 p.m. So check it out. We do contests as well. We just gave away a whole guitar rig from how many effects were there in that? There was
Strymon, Earthquaker devices. We had
Empress. There was an ESP guitar, a Supro amp. I mean, we really pedal board as well. We really did give away a whole rig.
It was like $5,000 worth of gear that all these companies came together. It was really unique in that all these companies who would usually be perceived as competitors came in and essentially brought this about. Oh, it looks like Mr. Dykes is here, so we're going to go ahead and bring on Doyle Dykes. Is going to talk a little bit with our own Eric Lucero.
Hey, buddy. Well, Doyle, thank you again very, very much, first of all, for coming back and doing another clinic here at Pitbull Audio. It's very awesome to have you here again.
It's great to be here. Good to be here with you guys. Appreciate what you're doing, and
not
only San Diego, but all over the place.
We
guitars all over the country,
all internationally as well. On top of that, and we're doing very, very well with Godin and Siegel. Yeah. Now, you've been with Godin for quite a while now. How long?
Well, not that long, actually. About a little over a year now. And you
really?
guys were one of the very first places I ever went, and then I carried on to 11 countries other than here.
Oh, really?
So 12, about a dozen countries last year, and which is pretty nice for my age.
That's right. All that travel must be nice.
A lot of travel, and everything was good. It was great turnouts,
Right on.
And everywhere from Europe to all over Canada too, and then China, and down to Australia and New Zealand. It was just great, and to see the young people that are excited about music all over the world, especially in Asia. Yeah, it's quite amazing. It was really cool.
That's pretty awesome that you've been able to travel the world with Godin. And if I'm asked, who were you playing before?
What guitars was I playing? Of course, right here from El Cajon, Uncle Bob Taylor.
Oh, that's right.
I spoke with Bob today. We texted each other today. And he's still one of my really close friends. But I was with Taylor for 17 years. And then I had a friend that was a CEO of Fender, Larry Thomas. And he asked if I would help them to sort of, not resurrect, that's not a good word, but to boost up, bolster up the sales for Guild and just do some new things with them. And we did for a while. And then things changed in that business, and they sold the company. And so I didn't think I was doing this anymore. My wife said a year ago, I thought you retired from all that guitar business stuff. I said, well, I did too. Not that I wanted to. And NAMM has always been very, very good friends with me, and they asked if I would come and play the tribute shows and different things that they do, but mostly the tribute show. And so I was there, and a good friend of mine that was with me last year, Bob Urbonis, who was also a Taylor for a while, and Bob is now with Godin. And he says, you should be playing Godin. And I kind of glanced. I had Grandpa Jones' son with me in the car.
Oh, wow.
And Mark Jones. And we were doing a tour in Texas. And I looked at Mark. I said, well, I kind of got an Olsen in the car here, but I didn't say that to Bourbonis. But I had was playing really great guitars. But I said, I'll just be at the NAMM show, and I'll see you there. And then he said, well, come by Godin booth. And when I went in, Robert had his arms up. It was like one of those movies where you see a shot that just kind of goes up and brings a guy up right in front. Yeah. He says, where have you been? We've been waiting on you for years to walk through these doors. Right on. And I had a friend of mine with me that's a guitar player. He was going to come tonight. He's from Southern California. And he's a pastor, friend of mine. He says, well, Doyle, you should always go where you're celebrated, not tolerated. Which I don't know what he meant by that, but I said that's a very good point.
Some good advice, yeah.
And but no, he says, no, I think they were expecting you, and I flew up to Montreal, and boy, it just felt like I was with family. And so they're very, very good people. They have a great reputation in this business. And, of course, I've talked to Bob Taylor about him, and he knows Robert Godin. This is a small community, this guitar business, and we're all good friends. But to see somebody like them in a family business in this world of music is refreshing. Yeah. It really is. And it is a family business, and they're worldwide. And they're getting bigger and bigger in the United States. But let me tell you something, they're huge around the world, and the young people that are playing Seagull and Godin guitars around the world. Here I'm sort of the Cracker Barrel crowd, which y'all don't have Cracker Barrels out here, but it's a restaurant back east. And I'm quite happy with that, but when I'm overseas, I see all these young people and they're coming out to see me, and it's just a wonderful thing too, to see that new blood getting into fingerstyle guitar, and it's really cool. It's been refreshing. It's really bolstered up my sort of faith and confidence and a lot of things. And we all need that, no matter who you are.
And especially on that fingerstyle of playing on guitar, it's something that's maybe not be in the pop spotlight, but it's interesting to hear that there's so many kids around the world that are trying to pick up that particular style.
Yeah, and look at James Taylor. Last year, I think he had the #1 record. I think his first #1 record, the whole album, was just a year or two ago.
Really?
Yeah, it's an amazing thing, and he's definitely fingerstyle guitar, and I see him putting free guitar lessons on his website, and I thought, well, gosh, if James Taylor can do that, I should do that. So I started doing that, and then we're doing that also with Godin, and it's a great thing to see young people really getting into solo guitar. I'm not saying it's the best, it's the only way. Of course, it's the best way for me, but fingerstyle guitar has really served me well, and I enjoy doing that. It's mainly because I can't afford a bass player, okay?
So for switching to Godin, what is it about the Godin instruments that made you switch to them?
Well, of course, I love the Seagull guitars are great, and they're so affordable, and they're solid, wood tops and that whole thing, and they're made in North America. And but these guitars here have such a unique design. They're easy to carry around, and they have a wonderful tone to them. And so you're sort of mixing the electric and the acoustic together, which I've always done. I've never been a purist, actually. I think anybody that plays guitar, first of all, they just love guitar. You have some guys, well, I'm only acoustic, but most guitar players are not. Most of them, they play. I asked Preston a while ago, I said, what do you play, electric or acoustic? He said, both. Yeah, well, with this guitar, you can play both at the same time, Right. So it's cool. It gives you, and with this guitar, you get the warmth. And right here, we have Acoustic Solutions amplifier, which is also distributed by the Godin company. And then I have a Princeton reverb right next to it. So you get that warmth of the tube, Of course, I can turn it off and it still sound good, but I just like it's a feel that you get. Yeah. So you're mixing the acoustic and electric together, and it's a lot of fun. And Godin does it better than anyone I've ever seen.
Nice. It's so you've found your perfect fit for merging the two worlds and
Yeah, I
getting your
think
style
so.
on. That's awesome.
It sure feels good.
So for, I guess it's a general statement, not just for Godin, but since you're such a fingerstyle heavy player, what makes a particular guitar great for fingerstyle? What do you look for?
Well, the size of the neck to a lot of people makes a difference. I think that's something that people. It's up to that person. Tone is another thing. Everybody has their ideas of tone and all, but I think if for fingerstyle guitar, I think having a flat surface here really helps. Now, you have arch tops guitars that are nice. You got the old Gretches and the 6120s and that sort of thing that are great. But when you have a guitar like this, it even though it's not a total acoustic guitar, it feels like it. So you play differently when you have a guitar like this than you do if it was an arch top.
You get that old flat top feel.
And that's not just saying that's for fingerstyle guitar, but your hand lays well on the guitar like And a fingerstyle guitar player like me, I'm a hybrid player. I don't play classical. I don't play, it's kind of a mixing things together. So, classical guitar players, I don't even know how they do it, but it's like different. They hold their hand up more like this. And me, I hold my hand down. So I'm actually, when I'm doing this, I'm playing rhythm and bass at them. And you're muting that. So you kind of have to hold your hand down against that. So you had to mute the first three. And then. Now, if you were playing Dust in the Wind, you wouldn't do it, You wouldn't do it. That sounds like Chet Atkins playing Dust in the Wind. If Chet Atkins was here, he wouldn't do the Dust in the Wind. He would. So you wouldn't mute the bass and something like, because it's more of a folk sound. So it has to do a lot with the style of the instrument. Or the song. Now, these guitars have a little wider neck, so the spacing for fingerstyle is important, and the spacing here as well. These are a little wider than some guitars, and so you can get in and out of the. And so, because you're doing instead of playing like with a flat peg, I couldn't do that. I don't play with a flat peg, but you know what I mean? And to have where you can get your fingers in between the strings like that, they have to be a little wider. And so
That's kind of I used to hear of.
These guitars are made that way.
But right from the factory, ready to go. It's
yeah.
like I used to hear of fingerstyle players getting 12 strings and just only loading it up with 6 for that spacing. But you don't need to do that anymore, of course.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
So one last question before we lead into your clinic is for those who are wanting to start off and get more into fingerstyle playing, what is your key advice for them?
Well, with the internet now, there's so many ways you can go. I mean, go to DoyleDykes.com, and it has some of the basics of fingerstyle guitar. I was just at the Godin factory or the offices, and we did a whole series of the very first lessons that I ever took from a sailor. I learned from a sailor. This is a port city. I'm from Jacksonville. I'm the other one over on the, one of the other ones on the East Coast. And sailors always came to our church, whether it's for girls or God. We didn't care. As long as they came, it was great, But this one actually came and played the guitar. So instead of girls and God, it was guitar for him, I guess. But he played my dad's guitar. And he showed me this real simple. So, I mean, all the time God help me not to forget that, help me to remember that. And I'll be at school doing this. And I'll be walking down the halls. And so, but I remembered that. And we put that very lesson is going to be on the Godin site very soon, if it isn't already on there. And they're also going to let us share it and put it on our site as well. And so we have that. We also have, of course, you have the James Taylor site. And Tommy Manuel has some stuff out. There's so many great guitar. Tom Bresh, great guitar player. So find out. It's just like anybody who likes to read. They find your favorite author, well, who influenced them. It's kind of the same with a guitar player. Find out who influenced them. And you're going to find Chet Atkins. You're going to find Merle Travis. Maybe people you never heard of, before. I actually show the difference between the Merle Travis and the Chet Atkins style. I actually do that. I may do it tonight, but I do it on my website too. And so I think that's the greatest thing, the greatest tool. These are the best days to live, to be a musician. There's so many ways you can learn things so we didn't have that. And so, and so go for it and find that niche, and that's of course of your own, and by learning from other people, still be yourself and
Sure.
play the music that you like to play. But explore around.
Right on. That's great advice. Great advice for young players.
Thanks, Eric.
Well, without further ado, we'll get to your clinic. And thank you very much, Doyle.
Good to be here at Pitbull. Thank you. All right. Me and Jesus and my old guitar. Me and Jesus and my old guitar. I'd love to get along, pick my fingers to the bone. Hope that God is patting his foot on the throne. Me and Jesus and my old guitar. Me and Jesus and my old guitar. With these 6 little strings, I'm gonna do my thing. Me and Jesus and my old guitar. Jesus and my old guitar. It's just me and my goat-and guitar. I love to get along, pick my fingers to the bone. Hope that God is patting his foot on the throne. Me and Jesus and my old guitar. Me and Jesus and my old guitar. With these 6 little strings, I'm gonna do my thing. Me and Jesus, me and Jesus, me and Jesus and my goat-and guitar. Me and Jesus. Me and Jesus, me and Jesus and my old guitar. Here we go. Country fried picking. Batman chord. All right. I didn't have the Bigsby, so I had to get my bass string. Somebody had mentioned playing some of the old hymns, and so. Amen. Amen. You know, when you're doing a song like that, the melody line is always in front. You know, it's always up top. When you're going, is competing against the soloist. You don't want that. You want him to be back in the background because what's the focus on? The singer. It's the same thing when you're playing solo guitar. You're focusing on the melody or the singer, you know, and all the other guys are just backup. They're just background. That's why I say you can't afford a bass player. Yeah, well, he's right here. And sometimes I'll hit a note instead of a chord, you know, because you hear that 5 or that E on the bottom. Just let it ring out because you hear it. You can hear it. It's not even a chord. It's just a note. But you know it's going to resolve. Terrible. I should be focusing also on the people at home. So what I'm doing here is I'm hitting a note and I'm doing a harmonic. And the lower string becomes a higher note, you know, because you're doing a harmonic, and a harmonic is just touching the string like this, you know, and picking at the same time. People think I'm tapping. I'm not. I'm picking and touching. See, it's just kind of going down and across at the same time. It's tricky. It's tricky, but you'll learn it. You just have to practice. See, you get to down and across at the same time. And if you're doing a chord, 12 frets up. So if you have a chord, then you go up 12 frets from here. If you add like a 2, that's 1, 2. That's just an E with a 2 here. And what I'm doing here is I'm hitting the tonic note, and then I'm doing a harmonic. Following this. Dun, dun, boom, boom. See, when I came up here also. When I move my fingers up, I also move the harmonic. Have to learn to remember which one is, and you just, you know, you'll get used to it. But here's what I do too. I go with my third finger, and so I'm doing them at the same time. And so it's just coloration. You're coloring. That's what makes an arrangement. Color. It's just like a flower arrangement. You're just doing it with music. You're just making it more interesting, hopefully. You know? If you play a song, play it differently the second time around than you did the first time. Chet Atkins used to say this. If you're going to play a song, you know, if you're going to repeat it, play it a little bit different the next time around. You know, just make it interesting. Any questions? All right, now I'll tell you what this is. This is a spectrum. This is called the This is a multi-act series, multi-act, and this is called the Spectrum. And this one has a pickup here, and if I, this is actually a Seymour Duncan, and you guys tell me what to do. If I need to get back on the mic, and that's better. Okay, forgive me. I'm so sorry.
Do your thing, brother. We're enjoying it.
No. You know what? I am driving Tino nuts. I know I am. I know. He's just being nice. Okay. Okay. Just remind me. Mike Doyle, Mike, I am not offended. Okay. Here we go. This is a Seymour Duncan lipstick pickup, which really by itself really sounds good too. In fact, if you just plugged it in down here and this part, is that it? I'm close. I never use that one by itself. It's just that pickup, okay? And it'll sound more like just a regular electric guitar. And because these are pickups too, as you know, most of you know that. It's a piezo, a hexaphonic system. And so, and here's your volume and your tone here. And this makes a nice little jazzy sound. Sometimes just, there's nothing to it. Just do it. Just wiggle your finger over it. How do you do that like that? Just wiggle your finger over it. Everybody makes everything so hard. And Chet Atkins style, let's see. So you really get a nice tone with just that pickup. But when you mix the two together, and you can also turn this all the way down here. And it somehow boosts it because there's a battery involved there. But now watch this. I'm going to turn this. That's just mostly this. You get a little bit of this. Now watch this. When you put this in. And bring that in there, mix the other one a little more. Do I. That's tricky. Let's see. I can't do it slow. It's just a good sounding guitar. It just sounds good. Well, it sounds like an acoustic. It sounds like a lyric. Well, who cares? It just sounds great, So, like I say, I'm not a purist. I know when something sounds good, and I know something too. When you go out, and I told the people I went to the NAMM headquarters. I said, you know what? All the things that we do, all the people, the manufacturers, and all the things that you do. We're all into this because we're musicians. We were talking about strings before. What kind of strings you use? What kind of you do? We were talking about that before. But when you get out and you start playing your instrument in front of people, you've already done all that. You don't need to be thinking about what kind of guitar it is, or what kind of cable you use, what kind of amplifier you use, what kind of strings you use. You've done all that. You just play. And when you can play something without having to think about all that, then you found the right guitar. You found the right instrument. And I'll have to say, this one will do that. It really does. Okay, any questions? Yes?
Why is the headstock like a classical?
The slotted headstock?
Yeah.
Because it's a straighter, according to Robert Godin, and he had experimented around with a lot of different types of headstocks. You get a straighter string pull, and also the tension on the neck's different. It's also elongated. It's longer here, and so you get a little bit more tension on the string. And I'll have to say, he's right. It does sound good. It does really sound good, you know. And I can still, I've learned how to do that. I said, okay, you know, if it has a slotted headstock, I can do that. I went in one day, and they actually had a little thing you could pull, like here, and with my thumb down. I thought, these guys are so cool. But you know what? I'm not going to. That's just another thing to have to put on a guitar. And I said, I'll just learn how to put that on. And so I actually lined my strings up where this one's right in the middle. And I put a graphite in the nut here pencil. I always keep a little, you know, those little golf pencils. I always have several of them in my guitar case, and I use those all the time. And so I put graphite there in the nut. And so, yeah, that's good. Good question. Anybody else?
Doyle, have you ever experimented with other tunings, or do you just?
I do. And one thing I was going to say about that, which really kind of, when you are doing that, the slotted headstock, Robert says, and I believe him, works better because the classical guitars were designed that way. And when you go down on this, these still stay in tune. You do that on some guitars, these are already out of tune. But on the slotted headstock, it stays in tune better. And it does. I almost hated to admit it, but it does, because I never thought of it, you know, but he did, you know. Now, I don't know if it was perfectly in tune before anyway, because I've been framing on it, but watch this. I mean, it's still pretty good. But like I say, it probably wasn't in tune anyway. How about an old song? Can I take my coat off now that y'all know I brought a jacket? Just really trying to impress y'all. And could you hold that real quick if you don't mind? It's a little heavy. All right, it's just getting hot in here. Okay. I was stopped by a guy not too long ago in Atlanta airport, and he walked up and he said, "You're Doyle Dykes." And I knew that. But sometimes it's good to be told. I hope I don't rely on that one day. But, and truthfully said, but he said, you are Doyle, right? And I said, I have been all my life. Yes, sir. And he said, well, I watch you on YouTube all the time. And I got to think, what are they talking about? What is on YouTube of me? You know, because I can't watch it at home. My son would totally make fun of me. Hey, Dad, what you looking at? Yourself? Which he did when I went home and started looking at it. I got busted. So I noticed there was this young guy, and he was playing some of my songs. And I thought, how cool is that? I mean, that's pretty cool. But the thing is, I couldn't play it. I had completely forgotten about that song. And by the way, the tops of these are braced like a... So it really is an acoustic guitar. So. So when you add this... Oh, wait a minute. You add electronics to it, okay? forgot how I ended it. If you touch it, I don't know how that works, but it does. And so that is an alternate. Excuse me. That is an alternate tuning, and it's the G and the D. You know, the A and E become a G and a D. So you have the. Again, I didn't mute my bass. I like it. That's the way Chet would have played it. But it's more in your face. And then you go. It's just, you find these little effects that work. I wrote that song years ago, and my son was riding down the road with me in the car, and he looked up and he said, he was about 3 or 4, "Dad, does God make hurricanes, earthquakes, and tomatoes?" Of course, he meant tornadoes. But anyway, I said, "You mean tornadoes?" He said, "You know what I mean, Dad." And he's always been real serious. And but anyway, and not always, but so I never forgot that. And I thought, hurricanes, earthquakes, and tomatoes. That's a song title, and that's what that song is called. And we abbreviated it, and it became Heat. And so everybody knows, can you play Heat? Well, you know, it's funny because I quit playing Heat. I was in Japan one time, and I was playing it at some university, and I screwed up really bad. And I was probably jet lagged and tired, and you know, and I quit playing it. It just I'd kind of freeze when so I didn't play it for years until not long ago. I saw it was over the holidays, and actually what happened was this guy saw me at that airport, and I went back and looked, and I'm thinking, well, that I'm not going to allow that to happen. I'm not going to allow it to happen. And, I'll get a little preachy to you, but don't throw away your confidence. Don't throw away your confidence. Don't cast it away. Don't throw it away. It's even a scripture, because it'll bring a great reward to you. And we all can lose confidence on things, but boy, when you lose confidence as a musician, and the best way to play is to relax. The best way to play a song. There's an old book that I carry around with me, and I showed the guys today at the NAMM place, and I said, "Look at this. This came out of the 40s. Old author named E. Stanley Jones." He said, when a musician tries too hard, it affects the sound of the music. He says you should relax and let the music play you. I thought, pretty good. That's pretty good for something out of the 40s, you know. And so I took that song back out, and before NAMM, I went over. I was playing at a big church in Redlands, California, and I went up, and every service I played Heat. And then when I got to NAMM, I played Heat. And do you know we had over 100,000 hits on that particular show that I was playing? And wow. I mean, and so, but we all do that sometimes, and we just, if you mess up, then you freeze up, you know. I was with Greg Laurie one time, and I froze up on a song, and I just missed one part of it, and I don't think they even noticed it. I don't think anybody did, but I did, and so I quit playing that song. One of the other songs I played was that one, and it was the title song of my Guitar 2000 record. I'm being real transparent with y'all tonight, aren't I? But, you know, we all go through things like that sometimes, and we should not allow that to happen. And so the older I get, I'm thinking, it's only music, man. It's just a song. And so we shouldn't do that. And so, anyway, but alternate tunings, sometimes when you think too hard, it'll mess with your head. Alternate tunings will do that. And so I think that's the part I messed up, and I thought for that I couldn't do it. And so here's another one. So this is E, B, G, D, G, D, C. I'm not going to play my guitar all night long. I mean, why should I come to Pitbull and just play my guitar that I brought all the way from Tennessee when I don't play their guitar? So I'm going to do something on, because this is my Spectrum, and that one went all over the world with me last year, and some places I didn't even bring a guitar. They just had one there. That's pretty good. I tell you, that's speaking well of a company when you can find a guitar that'll do that. They're very consistent. And here's Pitbulls. Now, I hadn't even played this guitar. I think I may have tuned it. Maybe I did play it. I don't remember. I don't think I did tune it. Now, I won't do the string bend on it, because I also found a way when you do that to wrap it around where that little string, that little end of that string that people cut. I don't cut them, I twist them off. And so if I grab somebody else's guitar and I do that, I could bury that thing right in my hand. And I don't care how big a boy you are, you're going to cry like a girl. I'm sorry. Pardon the expression. Okay, here we are. Let's look at the way guitar's set up. Straight across. Okay. Drop D. Drop D. Okay, let's add a little bit of highs. Let's bring these pickups in a little bit more. How about an old hymn? Can't get that chord on a regular tuning. Tremolo. Nothing prettier than when something resolves and you have the tonic note on the bottom. In other words, if it wasn't on the bottom, it would be like. A lot of guys do. They'll just put an F sharp. How about this? That's a lot prettier. You know why? It's fuller. Fullness. When you're playing a song like that, it's all about fullness. You know, you need to fill a house when you're playing a song like that. You know, and that's just drop D. So yes, I do use alternate tunings. I don't use some crazy things like a lot of modal tunings. I have before, but I don't use them in the show as much anymore. But I like them. It's a lot of fun to play. Yes.
You said doing the ninth backwards? What was that?
Oh, the ninth chord? Yeah, I do. Yeah. You know, most guys do a ninth chord like that. And I never understood why, like, because your hand, I just can't play it like that. Because you got your little finger here. Or how about this one? You just add that, you know. But here's my ninth chord. But like I say, now you try to add that one. Forget it, you know. If you hit a ninth chord like this, how if you're trying to get, how about that? The Gospel according to Doyle. It's just backwards, but I never learned it. For years, somebody told me, I didn't know it for years. Somebody said, you do your ninth chords backwards. Broke my heart. Anyway. But I do them backwards. I'm not saying the other way is wrong, so if you do it that way, but I mean, I think it's, you know, doesn't make as much sense for what I do, you know.
What do you
Yes.
mean by backwards? They
The fingering is totally opposite.
okay.
Yes, sir.
Doyle, is that the exact same model as your guitar?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Would you tell me what it is?
It's a Spectrum. See?
What,
It's called this, say it again?
just a golden spectrum?
Uh-huh. Yeah. There it is. Now, this one belongs to these guys, but it's the same thing as mine.
Belong to me if I drop it.
Yeah, well, if you drop that. Don't you drop that. But I want you to look at one of the differences that I do, and I'm still not on the mic. You got to tell me, Tino.
No, we got this.
Look at you, man. Look at you.
We got it. So
I'm so with you. I want to be out here with you guys. I told them, in fact, that's what I meant. I said, can you get me out there further, you know? And if I get any closer, I'll be sitting in your chair or whatnot. But see the strings I have on mine? They typically come with electric strings from the factory. Look at those. See, those are electric guitar strings.
So I was about to ask about the string set.
Yeah. See, these are phosphor bronze. But let me tell you something about string companies these days. They use the materials that they use. It's just kind of like, pardon the expression, but gunpowder. You know how you go out shooting and plinking. If you use an old black powder, you have to be careful, I guess. But when you're shooting and going out and shooting a gun or things like that, you don't have to clean it every time. You know what I mean? It's more pure. It's clean. It's more refined. Metals are that way too, and even the casings and all the metals. Metals on the guitar are that way. Strings are that way. I should never use that as an analogy, I guess, because that's totally politically incorrect, isn't it? But if you know what I'm saying, strings last longer than they used to. And, well, it depends on the chemical or chemistry of the person, I think. But things are just made better in a lot of ways. Now, that might some people may disagree with that, you know, because when it comes to magnets and old pickups and speakers and things like that, alnicos and things like that that you can't get anymore, those things had a sound to them. They really did. But when you're talking about strings, the purity of these strings and the size of the wire is different on the inside, the windings. So you can actually use a string like this on an electronic pickup. You heard me play mine a while ago with just that one pickup. Did you notice that, well, the second string's louder than all the others? No, it sounds balanced because they're more pure. And so that's one thing that makes that guitar. When I get a guitar, the first thing, when I'm trying out a guitar, and I encourage you guys to do, I don't care what kind of guitar it is, if it's like a Summit, like this Les Paul looking thing, it doesn't matter what it is. If it's a 12 string, if it's a nylon string, put your strings on it. It's going to make a huge difference. Some guys still put, and I've been known to do it too, a wound third on their Les Paul, because the Les Paul started off as a jazz guitar, you know, and so there might be times that I would put a wound third on that little black Summit guitar, because it has a different sound. Chet did that. Sometimes he'd use an unwound third, but when he was recording, sometimes on his electric guitars, he would use a wound third too. And that's what these have on. That's what that has. It's just a wound third electric guitar string. And but these pickups are also so pure. The Seymour Duncan that's on there, those pickups are better than a lot of pickups used to be, especially for a new pickup. You know, he is, I'm sure he is allowed for that second string not to overpower the others, because Seymour's a smart guy. And if it wasn't a good pickup, Robert Godin wouldn't put it on his prize guitars, because he loves these multi-acts, I want to tell you. And he's right about so much of this guitar that I didn't know about. And one of those things is that the slotted headstock really works, you know. So there's a lot of things in this guitar that you probably never thought about that makes it work. It just makes it work great.
Got a question for you from the internet. Justin Sowers wants to know, how long did it take you to learn the U2 medley, or come up with it, that is?
Oh, U2?
Well, that's what he said, the U2 medley.
U2 medley, okay. I don't know. I was just messing around at my house one day, and I think I played it first on a 12 string, you know, because it sounded big. And I was thinking, I need to do something where I can play, you know, more for, you know, more kind of emulate. How do you emulate a rock band? Well, you know, you just fram the daylights out of it. And so that's what I did when I started playing the U2 medley. And so I spent a few days on it, and my son came and said, "Wow, Dad, you rock." Now, when your 12-year-old tells you that, you remember it, you know. And so I played it at a Taylor event, I think it was. And the next day I said, "Wow, Doyle, that's a great tune, you know, that's a great medley." And so then I started playing it out more, you know. And so it kind of evolved, I think. But it all starts in your bedroom, doesn't it? Or in your guitar room, whatever you're fortunate enough to have. And any other questions? Those are good questions. Yes?
Do you read music or?
Not really, no. I used to read chord charts and things, but then I got to where I just didn't even do that well if you're sitting in an orchestra or something like that. And I started just making up my own songs, and next thing you know, I found a guy in New York City that could write it and read it a whole lot better than I could. And so, yeah, I don't do that. Ma'am? Oh, you want to give it back? I'm sorry. Yeah, I forgot about it.
Right.
No, I was just showing it. I just showing it. It's the same guitar. These guitars are very. Now here's a wonderful guitar too. It's called the A12. Street on this, $800, $899, something like that. Cedar top, smaller body, right overhead or in a closet, you know, on the plane. Everywhere I go, this guitar goes on the plane with me, you know. The sound is amazing. was doing a show here in town with Mason Williams, and Eric Johnson was on the show, and a lot of people, Doc Watson, boy, I don't know if y'all remember that, but it was, what'd they call that? What'd they call that? Say it again? Yes, it was. Yeah, and so Eric and I were standing in the back, and Mason was up on the stage, and he was playing that song, you know, and he said, one of us should cover that. What a great song. And we just turned and looked at each other and said, you do it. We both said at the same time, you should do it. But he didn't, so I did, finally, at his studio, in fact, you know. But it has a big sound, and because I don't want to keep you too late, let me explain another thing that I do. I change the bass strings around. And this is something that any luthier, the guys here could do it, or I've done them myself, you know. But I just widen this. I don't deepen it, but I'll widen it a little bit with a little file. I just got it from Home Depot and just widened it a little bit. But you know, and then when I would get up to, like, when I get back to the offices, I would have you know, one of the guys there at Godin to change this out for me and put another one on there. But I changed the bass strings because I come down on my thumb. And when you do that, and when you're playing like this, like especially with the thumb over, tell you the truth, it would not sound as big if I didn't turn those strings around. It's just like adding an effect on it. You know, because you're just framing the daylights out of it, you know? And so
I'm sorry, Doyle. What is it you do to your bass strings? You enlarge the groove and the nut to make the
bass
sit
on the
deeper?
top.
yeah, you don't look at the powder on here. You know what that is? You see that dust?
Dust.
Fingernails. But if you see here, you know, you don't really need to do hardly anything to this at all. You wouldn't have to do anything. I don't even think they did. They may have a little bit. But see this here, they make it a little wider. You'll make it deeper. Because if you do, if you try to make it deeper, it'll plink out on you. But you don't even have to do that.
So
I
what is
mean,
it you
guys-
do? You make
So
the
only the E
groove
and A string.
deeper?
Uh-huh,
So,
and
so,
then
so the string sits further?
So it sits in, yeah, and when you do that, you don't have to do anything just because it's already deep enough, it'll hold it, you know, because the big string is usually here.
Okay, so you just change those two strings?
I just changed those,
Okay.
the A's and E's
Yeah, just-
respectively, I changed them. And if I was gonna do that, if I had this guitar, right here, and I'm very excited about this little seagull. I'm very excited. I saw one of these in Mario's office about a year ago, and I walked out and went, "What is that?" And I said, "You guys have a new?" He said, "Well, this is something new because I hadn't seen one." And I said, "Wow, well, that's cool, you know." And I have no idea what this guitar costs, but I can tell you one thing: it's not much. And there's a lot of guys. How much? $700. Because there's a lot of guys, they'll have all the other, and I thought I had effects on a while ago, and there are no effects. There's reverb is all. That sounds pretty big, doesn't it? I mean, it does. So you change those bass strings around. See how you get most of the when I you're hearing a na 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 na, you know, when I'm playing it on mine, you pretty much mute the little one. Boom, 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 boom. You hear the big one, and so that's the only difference. You're just hearing the big string more than the little one, you know. That's amazing. You know what I was doing a while ago with the harmonics? You don't have to do that. Because you got to. Short version. By the way, I was playing classical gas on the 12 string. Some people say, "Well, how in the world do you play that on the 12 string?" Of course, we know the 12 string plays the same, but most 12 strings play really hard, you know. But I'd say these things play really great. I mean, this guitar has not even been set up or worked on at all. The little one I have here and there. And I'd get the strings down a little lower, and I haven't had much done to it. And I had another nut put on it and just lowered the bridge a little bit, and that was it. You can do that to this guitar. It would even play better than it does. But that's a hard piece I just played. I mean, you know, trying to emulate a rock band, come on. I mean, who can do that anyway? So you know it's a tribute. I mean, that's as well as you can put it. It's a tribute, you know. But I grew up in Jacksonville, like I said, and that's where those boys are from. And I met all those guys. I went over to Alan's house, and they all sat in a semicircle and said, "Hey, man, play some more of that Merle Travis. Can you do some more Chet Atkins? How about Jerry Reed? You know some Jerry Reed stuff?" We're all guitar players. I mean, we just love it, you know. And Ronnie's buried from me to my truck out there from my dad. And right across from him is Leon Wilkeson and some of the other guys are around that same area in that cemetery. And so I thought, because people say, "Play Freebird," and just kind of joking around, I thought, why the heck not? It's a beautiful song. It's a really pretty song. And anyway, but people asked me about playing classical gas. You know who told me about playing classical gas on 12 string? The guy that wrote it, Mason Williams. He told me one time, he says, "You know how I got that sound?" He says, I said, well, the classical guitar. He says, on the first track, there were 4 tracks. Up front and center was a nylon string classical guitar, and behind it was a 12 string. And that's how he got that crystalline sound, you know. And then the other 2 tracks was a 37-piece orchestra. That's exactly what he told me. And then he sent me a whole box of all the original score and the whole thing of that. And even though I couldn't read it, I still enjoyed having it. How old is he? I don't know. He's probably in his 70s, I'm sure, by now. He lives in Oregon now. You know, he was a comedy writer for the Smothers Brothers show. And he wrote that song as a joke because they'd pass a guitar around at some of the Hollywood parties, and he'd play classical gas, or he'd play a classical song, and they're going, you know. And so he wrote that song to have something to play that was more lively. And they said, "Oh, man." And there was a record producer said, "You need to record this." And he put it out, and it was a huge hit, you know. But he wrote it as a joke. And isn't that something? Yes.
How long does it take you to arrange something like that, like Freebird, to work that out and turn it into a finger-picking song like that?
Just messing around with it at home, you know. I changed it around a little bit. I changed this part here. You already got your, you know, you got your chords. And they twin their parts a lot anyway, you know, on the record, you know, so you kind of get that sound. You just wiggle your finger a little bit, you know. Before I was doing it, you know. And I quit doing that because I recorded it again on an old Martin guitar, an old 68 Martin D35, just for fun, you know. And it joined the body at the 12th fret, so I was playing it on that guitar. You know, so I just kind of rearranged it, you know. So it's just kind of messing around on different guitars and different things, you know. But anyway, great little guitar. And this is new. This one belongs to these guys, so this one's for sale as well. I remember when I first played, they fooled me. When I played the 6-string version of this, I figured it'd be about $1,700, you know, because the guitars I had played for so many years They were just, you couldn't hardly find a good one. I mean, you know, less than 12 anyway. And anything made at the factory here in the States especially, it was probably more like $1,700. And I had guessed that on this guitar. And they said it was, I think the 6-string version is about $100 less than that, isn't it? About $600. So this is what I bought my grandson for Christmas in the 6-string version. That's what I was telling you about a while ago. Isn't that cool? Beautiful guitar, and he's got back into his. And I'll record this song. I'll cut it a little bit. Let's see, the first part. Let's see. Isn't that nice? A lot of people don't think you can play fingerstone on a 12-string. A little folky sound. Isn't that nice? I love that sound of that guitar. Wow. And such a great price. See, a lot of people, they say, well, I won't play 12-string that much. You're going to play it more than you think you will. No, I just love the sound of them. Yes.
Do you think, as you mentioned earlier, like back in those days, your breaks, and it was far more expensive. Nowadays, I know that a lot of these guitars made up with using the CCM machine,
Mhm.
a lot more.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. In 1968, you couldn't get a guitar for that would sound anything like that.
Any sound quality that may have been sacrificed, or is pretty much kind of carry out the power? Like each of those instruments had its own.
Well,
a unique soul
know.
of its own, and now versus what you make now in a pretty like in a massive production. But I think the sound and your perspective, your own opinion, you think of the sound kind of like.
I think it sounds great.
Yeah.
It sounds really good. I mean, if you're going to compare, it's hard to compare anything with
Yeah,
an old
absolutely,
guitar.
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, I just got a 1940, I think, or 41. It's either 39, 40, or 41 pre-war Gibson J35. And when you hit it, it doesn't play with a flip. But, I mean, it's a bigger, it does play good because we made it play good, but it has a big fat neck on it. But when you play it, it's just like boom, hits you right in the chest. And but you think I'm going to carry that out here? No. You know, but if I have a 57 Chevy or an old, 54 Corvette in the garage, which I don't, but I wish it'd be nice. But if I was going to come out to California, I wouldn't drive that either. You know what I mean? And I learned that from Bob Taylor. He said, keep your 57, keep your 54, and keep your old Martins and your old Gibsons. And then and use one of the newer guitars that'll stay in tune good, and they're made with the CNC machines and all the new technology that goes into these things with the frets in the perfect spot, and it makes a big difference. There's never been a day where they build guitars any greater than they have here. And Robert Godin has put his life into these things and has done a really fine job doing it. And the thing about Robert, their whole concept is keep the quality up and a high volume of guitars. They make hundreds of guitars every day, but the thing is keep the prices down, and that's what he's done. And I admire him greatly for that. That's because that's how my grandson could have one. Yeah. Anybody else? Yes, and then you.
Seagull are the same company?
Yes, they are the same company. Mm-hmm.
Was Art and Luthery also? There's another company.
Yeah, they have several brands. And Lucas, maybe you could expound on that. They started off with art.
Yeah, you've got Art and Luthery, which is a real simple line. It's got kind of a vintage rockabilly type look to it. There's only 3 body shapes and a few different colors. So it's a really small line compared to Seagull.
Mm-hmm.
Seagull spans everything from little parlor guitars to the 12 strings to the dreadnoughts. It's got a lot more different colors and different shapes compared to Art and Luthery. And then Godin, that name is reserved for the multi-act series, the solid bodies. That bass up there is one of our Godin basses. So the Godin is...
Which is really good, by the way.
Yeah,
Incredible.
it's really nice stuff. So yeah, they have the different names for kind of covering different territories. Yeah.
My son-in-law is
It's all Godin though. Yeah.
My son-in-law is a string bass player. In fact, if you go online, you'll see him on some of the stuff with me. There's one thing that my daughter sings with me. It's called "In the Bleak Midwinter," and it's before I was with Godin, and he's playing with me. But he did a Godin show last year, and he didn't play electric bass much, and he was blown away with your bass. And man, I thought it sounded incredible. I mean, it's just a really, really nice bass. They have put a different spin on the old, would it be a jazz or precision type thing? Yeah, really amazing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes.
Can we hear that U2 tribute?
The U2. Oh yeah, we can do that. I want to be able to play some of these other guitars, and so I don't have. I'm running out of time. Can I'll give you the shorter version of it because it's like a anthem. You know what I mean? Yeah. And. Well, I love this, man. This is nice. Now, and look at the flame on the neck of this guitar. Oh my gosh, look at that. That is beautiful. I love electric guitars. I love to be able to go up and play, and like I said, not think about anything. When I'm home, my favorite thing is just take I have a guitar like very similar to this called the Artist, and the sides and back are solid rosewood, and it's a nice sound. It's a great sounding little guitar, and I love to just play acoustic guitar when I'm at home and just sit in my room and play. That's what I do a lot. So when when I was doing this in my bedroom, I'll turn it up a little bit so you can hear it a little better. But you know, that's learning, and that's when you're playing at home, you know, and okay, now, and so that's the way thanks. That's the way I come up with these things, and it's when I'm playing at my house. Which one's mine? Oh, this one. I have to look at the strings to tell the difference, you know. And but when you've done all that, and then you go out in front of people, and I'm not one to fight with a lot of microphones and do things like that. Or like I said, I'm not a purist. I just want to be able to get the song across, you know, and to right. So that's what it ends up being, you know. But in the beginning, it's just you and a guitar in a room by yourself, and there's nothing else going on but you and a little acoustic guitar. That's the way it usually starts off with me. Same thing with the Freebird. I was just in, you know, at home, and how could I play Freebird, you know? Well, you know, just play it. It's pretty. Go through that, all that. Just chords. Let's drop D. It's a suspended F, G. Low. You don't do it. You know. Now here again, you're just mimicking a band and a background with a lead guy. It's the same thing. It's just doing it in a different style. Yeah. And so that's what finger style is. You're playing all the parts, you know. When you have a guitar like this one is mine, it's the white one. It's the same guitar here. That it's available. So sometimes I like to play. Here's a song. Here's a guitar that you can have if you wanted one like this. And it's not, because a lot of people say, what's different about your guitar? Somebody was talking about Chet Atkins' guitar, and man, that guitar sounds so good. Golly, Chet, what in the world? That guitar, what makes your guitar sound so good? He got so frustrated. He just took it, you know, he was playing, and he just got up and put it on the chair and laid it against the chair and walked up and said, now see what it sounds like. You know? So it's not always the guitar, is it? But I have to say, though, he would agree it makes a big difference to have a guitar and one that would stay in tune and that sort of thing. These pickups are just really great. Each string has its own little pickup and its own voice. So now if I put my strings on here, it would feel like my guitar. And the only other thing I do different on mine is I polish the neck on the back. I take real fine grit sandpaper. I actually have some there. I use it on my nails. And if I had this in a hotel tonight, I'd be doing this, you know. And because I like them slick, you know. That's just me. I had a guy tell me, he said, well, I did a whole study on that. It's my doctorate degree. The velocity of this when you're sliding your fingers, and how people more pleasing and more accurate to have this type of finish and that all this kind of stuff. It just depends on what you like. Now this guitar, this thing sounds good through any kind of amp or anything. It's like my little grandbaby. You can put mud all over her face. She's still pretty. You know? That's the way this is. And listen to it even by itself. Guitar's made right. Yes.
What kind of strings do you use on yours?
On mine, I use GHS, and they're my signature strings. And the first two are stone ground, and so they're. It's funny. I like the neck slick, but I like my strings not so slick. So they're a satin finish string on the first two, and then the third through the sixth are all silver wound. If you notice, you can see it more on the fingerboard. Look up on the fingerboard. See that? And here's what most people use.
Feel like a sunrise.
And yeah, there was where'd he go? I guess he had to leave. There was a guy here that said he uses my strings all the time and wanted to know where to buy them. So I had a couple of sets and gave them to him. But isn't that nice?
Yeah.
They're beautiful guitars. It's the same guitar, but you can get it in white. You know Sergio Vaillant? Mana?
Yeah.
He has one like this that glows in the dark. And I think it's worth probably $10,000 because it glows in the dark. But it's the same guitar. And Sergio, I just call him Serge or Sergio, but he's a great guitar player. But it works really nice with Spanish music. It works great with classical music. It works great with an old hymn. It works great with Chet Atkins. Bum, 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 you know. It just works with so many different things.
I have the same guitar, but I just haven't been able to find the right string strings. That's why I'm kind of interested.
Yeah. You might like my strings. I don't have any more. I gave them to that other guy. So, yes.
I was wondering how your technique changes when you go from unamplified to lightly amplified or to the electric side or switching between. Does
Not a
your technique
lot.
change? It doesn't seem like it. You play the
No,
same
I
string.
just like playing like that, you know, because I'm by myself so much, you know. I never was good at the blues. I love hearing a good blues player. My son plays really. He has a nice vibrato, and he has a handle on that. It's just different. It's just different.
I mean, even the same song and the same style. I mean, do you lighten up when it gets loud, or do you? Sometimes it seems like you play really consistent across everything. Do you
Pretty
change it
much.
much?
No, not really. I think I pretty much do the same way because a lot of what I do is, and I mean I'm not well known, but if I'm known for anything, it's the dynamics on my right hand, and that's what Chet commented on my picking one time, which was a real blessing to me. But because it is different than what he did, it is a little bit different. I'm playing more. You play more like a piano. He plays like a piano player too, but I play more like maybe like somebody who's playing How Great They Are, like a gospel piano player. Of course, that may be like Jesus that don't let your left hand know what your right hand's doing. Maybe they don't. Anyway. Oh man, yes.
But Doyle, many guitar players, there's an annoying buzz as they move their left hand up and down the neck, and they're rubbing against the strings, and you hear this movement.
Isn't that the
I
truth?
don't hear that from you. You're so clean. So how do you get?
You hear it more without the electric part. The electric doesn't pick it up as much, but you know, there's some things where we've been working on. When I was with Fender for a while, we were actually working on some new strings, and that would alleviate that. They weren't totally flat, but only a couple of the strings were like that, not all of them. And because the bass strings you don't want that way, because it was an amazing the difference in the studio, and you don't hear it. You didn't notice the sound of the guitar changing all that much. And so we're working on to even get it better for everybody else. But I've been playing so long. When I do slides, I slide more on the first two. You slide much on the fourth and third strings, you're going to get a lot of sound, and on the bass strings.
So you lift up on the
You do a little
wound
more,
strings.
yeah. But everybody gets that, and everybody gets that kind of sound sometimes, and everybody gets nervous. Everybody, you know. But like I said, don't throw away your confidence, you know. And stay confident and play a lot, play at home, and stay comfortable with the feel of the guitar. I heard Clarence White one time say, or heard him, read an interview or something. He's a great flat picker, you know. He said, even if you can't play your guitar in a day, if you're on the road, when you get in the room, take it out, even if it's just for 2 minutes. Just remember what it feels like. Just run your fingers up and down the neck and play just a little bit, just for a few minutes. And it's important, I think, that you do that. Sometimes you just get tired. I was wiped out yesterday. We've had a lot going on at home and stuff too, and everybody has things come up, you know. And then when you get in, when I went to the church the other day, I was just, part of you don't feel like getting up and playing, you know. But then when you do, you feel that all familiar spirit, you know, and it almost soothes. Music is an amazing tool. It not only does it for other people when you're playing, it does it. My mother just had an appendectomy. She's 89, and just they had to put her in the hospital on Thursday night. I had to leave here and to come to California. I'm going, what am I going to do? Everybody gets hit with things sometimes, you know, and your nerves get this way when you get it in front of people, you know. But that's when you let the music play through you, and you don't try so hard, and you remember, you know, that it's not all about you. It's about the music. It's about what you're doing. And so I encourage you folks to get out and play. People say, how do I get to the next level of my play? Go out and play in front of other people. It's very, very important. I can't stress the importance of doing that. And I think it'll make a better player out of you, and it'll also bless other people. But I mean, sometimes even through my boots, you know, I'm up there playing, and my left toe just starts doing this. You know, I've been on the Grand Ole Opry just about every time I'm on there. For some reason, just about every time I'm ever on the Opry, it'll do that. And I'm up there, and everybody thinks, boy, he's getting down. No, I'm just saying, ouch. Because it's like a Charlie horse, and you know what's going on when you stop, you know. And it's just nerves, you know. But everybody gets nervous. Don't let that stop you. Don't let it do that. And then, you know, I'm a spiritual person, so I sometimes I'll quote a scripture before I go up, or whatever, and call somebody, or just, you know, just remember, think on things that are good and true and honest and just and pure, you know, and that peace will be there. And so I just encourage you to use your gifts, and don't be afraid to do that. Well, that's my sermon for tonight. Is there anything else that we need to, Lucas, what can you think of?
I think you covered it, man.
I'm over time, so I can't do anything else, but I want to say a special thanks to Pitbull. I mean, these guys are top notch. They're doing a wonderful business. Their business is growing like crazy. I told other friends of mine, I said, man, Pitbull, you need to watch these guys. I mean, because they are growing and they're doing a lot. And so we appreciate them having Godin. I love Godin guitars. They, like I said, they really work for me. I didn't play the little Summit. Next time we'll do that. But I encourage you to invest in your kids, invest in yourselves, invest in your music. I don't practice what I preach. I preach what I practice. And there's a difference. And so I invested in my own kids. I just bought my son another guitar not long ago. He has a lot of guitars, but you know what? He's also back in college, and he's taking criminology. He's not in jail, thank God. And he's making great grades, and I bought him a guitar. And you know what? He talks about it just, Dad, I love that guitar, you know. I bought my grandson one, you know what? He started taking guitar lessons again, and he's so excited about it. And so invest in yourselves, invest in your kids, and let's keep music alive. God bless you, folks. Thank you so much for coming. I have some CDs. I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, folks, coming out. Don't leave anywhere. We've got a drawing going on. I don't think everybody signed up. Megan, who here hasn't signed up for the drawing? We've got good stuff. Would you take a minute, go with Megan, so put your name and email address there. Stay around for a few seconds, guys. We're going to give away some cool gear from Godin, and we're going to also give some Pitbull and EnterTalk radio gear. If you go to the EnterTalk radio, go to the Pitbull audio Facebook page, this will be archived, and you'll be able to experience this and share this around to all your friends and family as well. So make sure you do that, because we really pride ourselves on taking care of all the musicians in town, and Everyone here are musicians. They've been doing this for a long time, and I'm not going to name any names of stores, but we don't see people as numbers. We see people as artists and as creatives and as expressionists, and they have passion and spirit and spirituality and all that. And so it's important for us to support the community here. So we appreciate you all coming out. Sign up, and then we'll get you guys the drawings here very shortly.
And thanks for putting this on the internet tonight. We appreciate that. I know a lot of guys will see.
Oh,
this.
it's right now it's going crazy. There was like 33,000 or 3,000, not 33,000, 3,000. But we don't know how many people it reached just yet because it does not tell us.
That's great.
But that's one of our biggest clinics yet, so we really appreciate it as we have reached there. You guys are all part of it, so appreciate all the great questions.
I have some CDs, and there's a white, looks like a CD, but it's actually a DVD called Live Sessions. And Tommy Manuel's on that, as well as Duane Eddy and Steve Warner, some of my favorite players, some really great guitar players, Phil Kagi. Then I have a collection of my things over here. All the money goes to put on shoes for needy children, my grandkids. And so God bless you guys. Thank you.